The picturesque streets of Paris awaken to a new day. Sarah, a woman in her early 40s, confident and driven, strides purposefully down the sidewalk. Her designer attire and the powerful aura she exudes are testament to her success and determination. Sarah, a fiercely independent businesswoman, has spent her life breaking barriers and challenging norms. But little does she know, today's journey would be her most perilous one. As the city comes alive, Sarah slides into her sleek, black luxury car. The soft hum of the engine is drowned by the bustling Parisian life outside. Her expression is focused, unwavering, as she navigates her car onto the busy roads. However, her path soon converges with that of an erratic driver. A man in his 30s, agitated, screaming out of his window, "Get out of my way!" Sarah, unperturbed, attempts to maneuver around the road rager's vehicle. She remains cool, calm, collected. But the road rager, his judgment clouded by rage and alcohol, accelerates, his vehicle sideswiping Sarah's car. The sound of screeching tires fills the air, a chilling reminder of the danger that has just unfolded. The collision sends both vehicles skidding dangerously. This is not the morning Sarah had envisioned. The encounter, unexpected and terrifying, has disrupted her morning. But Sarah, the epitome of strength and resilience, is not one to back down. She is determined to face whatever comes her way, to confront the danger head-on. This encounter, as deadly as it may be, is just the beginning of her ordeal. And the streets of Paris, usually a symbol of love and beauty, have now become the stage for a fatal confrontation. Sarah, shaken but resolute, regains control of her car and brings it to a halt. The howl of the city seems to fade into the background as her heartbeat echoes in her ears. The road rager, a man consumed by anger and alcohol, stumbles out of his vehicle. His steps are unsteady, his gaze unyielding. He marches towards Sarah's car, a storm of rage brewing in his eyes. His fists pound against her window, each thud sending a shiver down Sarah's spine. She locks her car doors, her eyes never leaving the man outside. She attempts to reason with him, her voice steady, her words measured. But the man's anger is a wildfire, impossible to contain. His fury escalates, each word he spits out piercing through the morning air. He accuses her of arrogance, of thinking she's above him. Sarah, however, remains steadfast. She's faced down boardrooms filled with skeptics, shattered glass ceilings, and built her empire from scratch. She's no stranger to confrontation. But this confrontation takes an alarming turn. The man, his face twisted in rage, reaches into his pocket and pulls out a knife. The early morning light glimmers off the blade, casting an ominous shadow on the pavement. The sight of the weapon sends a jolt of fear through Sarah, but she doesn't let it show. She keeps her composure, her eyes locked on the man outside. He smashes his fist against her window once more, the knife gleaming menacingly. He screams at her, a promise of retribution. His words echo in the silence that follows, hanging heavy in the air. "You're going to pay for this!" he snarls, his threat echoing down the Parisian streets. And just like that, Sarah finds herself in the eye of the storm, her morning commute turning into a deadly encounter. Her life, once defined by boardroom battles and business triumphs, now hangs in the balance on a quiet Parisian street. The confrontation is far from over, and Sarah must rely on her strength and resolve to survive. Because in this moment, it's not just about breaking barriers or challenging norms. It's about survival. In a desperate bid for safety, Sarah attempts to flee, but she's trapped like a bird in a cage. The road rager, his eyes wild with fury, shatters her window with a deafening crash. The world outside seems to slow down as shards of glass fly around her, catching the morning light in a chilling dance of danger. Suddenly, the road rager lunges at her with the knife, its blade gleaming ominously. Fear, raw and primal, grips Sarah, but she refuses to be a victim. She fights back. A struggle ensues inside her car, a battlefield on wheels. Each move she makes is a dance with death. Every second ticking by is a second stolen from the jaws of fate. As they grapple, the road rager's face contorts with rage, his breath reeking of alcohol and unadulterated hatred. Sarah, her heart pounding like a war drum, uses every ounce of her strength to keep the blade at bay. She fights not just for her life, but for every woman who has ever been threatened, who has ever been told to back down. Outside, the world is oblivious to her struggle. The picturesque Parisian streets continue their symphony of life, the sounds of laughter, chatter, and clinking coffee cups providing a stark contrast to the life and death struggle within Sarah's car. But not everyone is unaware. A passerby, a silent guardian in the crowd, notices the struggle. His heart skips a beat as he pulls out his phone, his fingers trembling as he dials the emergency number. His voice, steady yet filled with urgency, echoes the alarm into the receiver. "Police, there's a woman. She's being attacked in her car." As the words leave his mouth, the first notes of salvation ripple through the air. Sirens wail in the distance, the heralds of hope cutting through the normalcy of the morning. They grow louder, closer, a promise of rescue that fuels Sarah's determination. But will help arrive in time, or will the struggle claim a fatal toll? Sarah, her strength and resolve shining through, manages to disarm the road rager and free herself. The morning air, once filled with the everyday hustle and bustle of Paris, is now charged with a palpable tension. Her heart pounding in her chest, Sarah emerges from her car, her designer attire in disarray, a stark contrast to the powerful symbol of success she had been just moments ago. Onlookers watch in stunned silence, their ordinary morning turned into an unforgettable spectacle. As the adrenaline begins to subside, Sarah can finally take a moment to breathe. The threat for now has been neutralized. The Parisian streets, her battlefield, are now marked by the remnants of her struggle. Her once sleek black luxury car, now marred by the violent encounter. A silent testament to her ordeal. Out of nowhere, wailing sirens cut through the morning calm. The police, summoned by a heroic pedestrian, arrive on the scene. Officers spring into action, their swift movements a blur. The road rager, still disoriented from his struggle with Sarah, is apprehended by the police. His reign of terror on the streets of Paris comes to an abrupt end. As the handcuffs lock around his wrists, the reality of his actions sinks in. The arrogance and alcohol-fueled rage that had driven him to this point are now replaced by a dawning regret. But for Sarah, watching from a distance, there is no satisfaction in his downfall. Only a sense of relief that her ordeal is over, and a quiet determination to pick up the pieces and move forward. The police lead the road rager away, his figure growing smaller in the distance. The streets of Paris, once his playground, are now his prison. Sarah watches, her heart still racing, as the man who threatened her life is taken away. The crowd, once spectators to her struggle, now bear witness to her triumph. Sarah, relieved but shaken, watches as he is led away in handcuffs. The aftermath of her morning encounter, a stark reminder of the danger she faced and the strength she discovered within herself. Sarah provides her statement to the police, her ordeal etched in her eyes. The police station, a place of order and justice, seems to offer a respite from the morning's chaos. She recounts the terrifying encounter, her voice steady, her recounting precise. Each word paints a vivid picture of the confrontation, the struggle, the fear, and ultimately her triumph. The officers listen intently, their faces reflecting a mix of admiration and concern. She's not just another victim, she's a survivor. But as Sarah wraps up her statement, a sense of unease begins to creep in. The officers exchange glances, their expressions growing slightly more serious. They thank her for her cooperation and assure her they'll do everything they can to ensure her safety. As Sarah steps out of the police station, the bustling city of Paris seems a little less vibrant, a little less welcoming. She walks to her car, parked a short distance away, her mind replaying the morning's events. But the ordeal isn't over yet. As she unlocks her car, a chilling realization washes over her. Her keys. They're not the same. She looks closer. The keychain, a small silver Eiffel Tower, a gift from her mother. It's missing. A cold dread settles in her heart as she frantically searches her bag, but it's not there. She looks back at the police station, the symbol of safety now seeming ominously distant. Could the road rager have taken her keys during their struggle? Could he know where she lives? The questions whirl in her mind, each one more terrifying than the last. But as the sun sets over the city of love, Sarah is left standing alone, engulfed in a fear she thought she had conquered. A new challenge awaits her, one that will test her mettle and force her to face her worst fears. but little did she know that her day would take a darker, unforeseen turn.